There exists an invisible magnet within every human being, a quiet, unseen energy that draws toward us the very essence of what we constantly hold in our minds and hearts. The invisible magnet of positivity explores this truth with profound simplicity and emotional clarity. It teaches that life does not respond to what we wish for in words alone, but to the silent vibration of our attitude, our faith, and our inner state. The universe listens not to the noise of our complaints or our fears, but to the frequency of our inner conviction, the steady hum of our emotional energy. The book begins with a gentle reminder: every thought is a seed, and every feeling is the water that nourishes it. The soil of life responds without judgment. If we plant seeds of fear, we will reap struggle. If we plant seeds of gratitude and faith, we will harvest abundance and peace. This truth is not merely poetic, it is deeply practical. When a person wakes each morning with gratitude in their heart, something remarkable begins to shift. Opportunities that once seemed invisible begin to appear. People who were once indifferent suddenly become supportive. It is as if the whole world rearranges itself around the vibration we carry inside. The author paints vivid examples of ordinary individuals who experienced extraordinary transformations simply by changing the way they felt about life. A struggling artist, disheartened by rejection, learns to see her failures not as the end of her journey but as the sharpening of her craft. As she begins to speak kindly to herself and imagine her success as if it were already real, she finds inspiration flowing effortlessly, and her art, once unnoticed, begins to attract attention. Another man, weary from years of financial instability, decides to stop thinking in terms of scarcity and begins each day affirming that life is generous and full of opportunities. Within months, he discovers a new idea that changes his path completely. The book insists that these are not coincidences, they are the echoes of a new inner frequency. Positivity, as the book reveals, is not a naive denial of life's challenges. It is the courageous decision to meet those challenges with faith rather than fear. It is to stand in the storm with calm eyes and say, "Even this shall pass." The invisible magnet within us does not respond to external noise, it responds to the quiet certainty within our hearts. Every time we choose gratitude over complaint, love over bitterness, patience over haste, we strengthen that magnet. We increase our ability to attract not just things, but the right things: peace, purpose, and growth. One of the most touching sections of the book describes the transformation of a woman named Clara, who had lost everything she thought defined her: her job, her home, and her relationship. At first, she drowned in self-pity and hopelessness. But through her pain, she discovered something profound: that her sense of worth had been tied to what she had, not who she was. As she began to meditate, write affirmations, and practice daily gratitude, a light slowly returned to her life. The book describes her realization beautifully: "I stopped asking life for what I wanted and started thanking it for what I had." That shift opened the door to healing. Months later, she began a new career and built a life that was not only more stable, but deeply joyful. Clara's story becomes a symbol of how the magnet of positivity begins to pull life forward the moment we choose to align with hope. The author emphasizes that energy never lies. Whatever we emit emotionally, we eventually experience physically. This is not a mystical concept but an observable truth. Think of how our moods affect our actions. A day begun with frustration often leads to careless mistakes, negative interactions, and exhaustion. But a day begun with calmness and gratitude creates smoother experiences, not because the world outside changed, but because we changed the way we approached it. The book calls this vibrational responsibility, taking ownership not just of our actions, but of the emotional signals we send into the world. Another powerful idea explored is the relationship between faith and focus. Faith, in the book's context, is not blind optimism, it is a confident trust in the process of life. When we trust that everything happening is guiding us toward growth, our focus shifts from fear to purpose. That focus becomes magnetic. We begin to notice opportunities, connections, and ideas that were previously hidden. Just as a magnet attracts iron from the dust, a mind anchored in faith attracts goodness even from chaos. One chapter illustrates this through the analogy of a radio. The universe, it says, broadcasts countless frequencies of possibility, joy, success, love, creativity, but we can only receive the frequency we are tuned to. If our inner station is tuned to fear or anger, we miss the music of life's blessings. But when we tune our inner dial to gratitude, the same world suddenly feels abundant. This metaphor resonates deeply because it reminds us that life is not about changing everything outside us, but aligning ourselves within. Throughout the book, the author warns that positivity is not a mask to hide our pain, it is a medicine to heal it. We must feel our emotions, anger, grief, disappointment, but not feed them. When we process our pain with awareness and then choose peace, we send a powerful signal of resilience to the universe. It is this choice, to feel, release, and rise, that activates the invisible magnet more strongly than anything else. One moving story tells of a man who lost his lifelong dream of running a business when it failed after decades of effort. For months, he sank into despair, believing that life had betrayed him. But one morning, he wrote in his journal a simple line: "Maybe this is not the end, maybe it's the beginning of something new." That single thought changed everything. He began volunteering, met new people, and eventually started a small mentoring program that brought him more fulfillment than his business ever had. The book uses this story to illustrate that positivity is not about avoiding pain, but transforming it into purpose. The invisible magnet of positivity also explores how the energy we hold influences not just events, but people. When we enter a room with joy, others feel lighter. When we speak with kindness, hearts open. The magnet of positivity is contagious, it ripples through conversations, families, and communities. The author invites readers to see themselves as living beacons, capable of lighting dark spaces simply by choosing peace within. In one chapter, they write, "You are either expanding the world's light or its shadows, choose to be the one who expands light." The book concludes with an invitation, a quiet, gentle call to practice positivity not as a temporary mindset, but as a lifelong spiritual discipline. It reminds us that the magnet within us must be strengthened daily through gratitude, self-belief, compassion, and vision. When we wake with gratitude, speak words of kindness, and act with integrity, we realign our magnet toward abundance. The universe, ever responsive, begins to deliver people, opportunities, and circumstances that match that energy. Imagine a person standing before a mirror, frowning, demanding that the reflection smile first. It will never happen. The reflection changes only when we do. Life is the same mirror. The moment we choose to smile within, to shift our vibration, everything outside begins to rearrange in our favor. This is the essence of the invisible magnet. Life responds to our inner state. So the book leaves us with this profound truth: the real power of positivity is not in pretending life is perfect, but in realizing that within us exists a force strong enough to shape our destiny. Every moment, we are radiating something: fear or faith, complaint or gratitude, chaos or calm. The world reflects it back. When we become conscious of what we emit, we begin to master our lives. And so, the invisible magnet of positivity becomes not just a concept, but a way of living, an ongoing conversation between our hearts and the universe. Each day becomes a sacred opportunity to choose higher thoughts, kinder words, and gentler responses. And in doing so, we discover that what we once chased begins to find us. Opportunities, relationships, peace, they all arrive naturally, drawn by the quiet, unwavering magnet of a positive heart. That is the heart of the message: life gives to us what we become. The magnet of positivity is not about force, it is about flow. It is the art of aligning with goodness so deeply that goodness cannot help but find us. The book ends with a beautiful reminder: the more you bless your life, the more your life will bless you. In every challenge, there is a hidden gift waiting to be revealed by your faith. In every delay, there is protection you cannot yet see. And in every heart, there is a magnet, invisible, silent, but powerful enough to draw an entire universe of miracles.